Time is not important. Only life is important. That's a strange tagline. And number 35 on the list is The Fifth Element. Welcome to Long Play Video. All right, here we are down at the shop again on a Saturday afternoon. Not quite evening, not before, not after Watershed. So, yeah, another quiet Saturday in the shop, which gives us a perfect excuse to not only watch a movie but also invite someone in to watch the movie with us. Here she is. Zoe's coming back in.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, yeah, good. Still living the crazy stupid love life.
Oh, still watching it. Yeah, it's such a good show.
Have you perfected your lift yet? Dirty Dancing lift?
I've been trying, but I had my surprise citizenship party on Saturday, and I reckon people were trying to lift me after. So
only slight injuries occurred, so everyone's fine. Well, yeah, welcome back, and yeah, welcome back for number 35 on the list, which I believe is a firm favorite of yours, and that is The Fifth Element from 1997.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to watch it again. I love that film. I remember really loving it when I was younger, and it's been years since I've seen it.
Yeah. Nice. What is your memories of it?
I just remember thinking it was a Bruce Willis classic. It made me wonder whether the future was going to be the way it was suggesting, like flying cars. I just remember that. I remember being really scared of the alien that sings opera songs later on. Yeah. I remember wondering whether I thought the main girl in it with the orange hair was cool or scary
yeah. Just all the emotions.
Yeah,
Funny that you bring up Bruce Willis. Obviously, this is sort of mid-career Bruce Willis, and we know, Kev, you have a problem with actors when they're in the middle of their careers. So this sits nicely in between 12 Monkeys and Armageddon for Bruce Willis. And then I was kind of thinking, when was peak Bruce Willis? I don't know.
Have we reached peak yet? I mean, it's maybe he's still
I'm not sure it's gonna happen from here on out.
Sadly, not now.
But because obviously he was huge, wasn't he, at the beginning of the 90s and kind of even into the 80s with like Moonlighting and stuff. He's been around for long. You think Die Hard was 88, and that was kind of
that's crazy, isn't it?
Announcing him on the scene. So I was trying to think like when do we think he was at his peak in the box office?
Oh, I mean, it must be one of the Die Hard films you would have thought, wouldn't you? I'd say like maybe the third one with Samuel Jackson. Maybe that was the absolute peak. I don't know. I'm trying to think what he did after that. After that, I just feel like I remember him. He's just in Expendables all the time. But I don't know what else he did.
Third one's 95. So Pulp Fiction is 94, but even like Pulp Fiction, it felt a bit like sort of similar to Travolta. It kind of felt like he was coming back into it because it was kind of surprising that he was in there. But I'm just not really sure. I'm not sure. He's worked a lot, and I'm not sure that there are 3 good films back to back in his entire catalogue. And just as I look through,
it's big.
I'm just not sure that he did 3 good films back to back.
But then that is quite a tough feat for anyone, really, I would say.
Well,
as we described with
Hanks.
Clive Owen last week, don't get onto Hanks. They're not good films.
And Chris O'Dowd.
It's the Hanks. Chris O'Dowd's just not funny. That's his unfortunate problem.
I mean, just hit after hit. I think, Gosling, you'd be able to put 3 good films together, going back to Crazy Stupid Love.
Look at you going from a weak spot.
But it's obviously very strange time in Bruce Willis's life. Just a very strange character from Bruce Willis.
Still had hair, right?
Yeah, dyed it blonde. Kev, what do you remember about the film? What's your relationship with it?
Yeah, I remember it being obviously like sort of this sort of futuristic sci-fi film. I remember the main two characters, Bruce Willis and Mila, and I remember the outfits are just bonkers crazy, like mad. Yeah, I don't remember too much else. I remember it sort of, in my mind, I feel like it flows quite nicely, like it passes through at a good rate. But yeah, how long is this one?
It's just over 2 hours. 2 hours and change.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I remember it being pretty, like, I'm sure it starts pretty quickly as well. And then, as Zoe said as well, yeah, those no, it's slow. Oh, let's fast forward the first 8 minutes.
Well, so it's so interesting. Like this is a classic movie for me that is just on TV that, like, yeah, we just watched like over and over again over the years. Literally, I think I only saw the first 20 minutes maybe in the last like 3 years. I just I have it on DVD and I somehow still haven't watched. But the opening 20 minutes, it is just a bit bizarre and yeah, just we'll get into it after the rewatch. But like almost, I think I watched it maybe like 3 or 4 years ago because I wanted to just want sort of something fun and put it on. And literally I was sat there thinking, is this Fifth Element, or is this going to be like a 3-star review? And I'm going to be like, oh, this isn't the film that was supposed to be in the box. Yeah. 3 stars. The beginning of it is just, as they set up the story, is just super slow and like weird, and the aliens are weird, and what's going on is a bit weird. Like before you then see Bruce Willis, like then the film kind of kicks off once Bruce Willis is in, and then it kind of kicks off and it starts going. And then even at the very end, when they go back to the pyramid, spoilers, it's just, again, it slows down, and I'm not the very ending. Yeah, not a massive.
Are you sure
fan
this is on your list? I mean, this is quite higher up, and you just sort of slated it.
Well, I would say that this is like won the list. I think I may have even watched this film after I'd locked in the list. Yeah. So like the middle bit is super fun and super really great to look at. Obviously, like the Jean-Paul Gaultier outfits. We went to an exhibition, I think at the Victoria and Albert, when Poppy was quite young and saw the outfits. So Poppy has seen the outfits, although she's not seen the film. And obviously it's campy and cheesy and over the top. And I saw someone said it was Blade Runner, but if it was sunny rather than rainy, which I think is
sounds good.
Maybe.
But I was just going to say I remember towards the beginning when they're at the pyramids, just it feeling a while before they find these stones, and it looks and I just remember thinking, what's that all about? And that felt a bit slow to me, just because I was like, please find the stones. I want to know what's going on next.
Wow. Look, this is worrying me now. Both of you love this film, and you're both saying that it's super boring at the start. So I don't know what to do. We're trying to 20 minutes.
We're trying to manage expectations. You're like, oh, this is a banger right from the start, and I think I'm not sure that's going to be. Yeah, not sure that's going to be the case.
Okay.
And obviously, Luc Besson as the director. So obviously this is a 90s movie. So I think we should just treat it like it was in the 90s, where you don't know anything about behind the scenes or what a dirtbag he is, or anything else, and we'll just take it as take it as read.
Piece of art.
Yeah. Exactly. But I do think that, I mean, Gary Oldman is awesome in this as well. Bruce Willis is great. Obviously, Chris Tucker is brilliant. So I do think there's a lot of really strong performances that also. Funnily enough, I watched the trailer as well yesterday, and the trailer makes it seem like it's going to be like a pure kind of sensible sci-fi movie. And so again, I'm just a bit like, did people just go into this thinking it was just going to be like Blade Runner? I think you'd be a bit disappointed.
It's very
Yeah,
different to Blade Runner, yeah.
Sci-fi wouldn't normally be a genre that I'd go for as well. So I'm surprised myself that this is one of my faves. But
There you go. What a film. It's covering off so much.
it's all about that middle section. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can make up for a slow start. Obviously, at the time, most expensive movie ever made outside of Hollywood in '97, because it is a French film, for which Luc Besson actually won the Best Director at Cannes, which I think is maybe a bit of French favoritism. I think that's fine. You know, that's everyone does it.
That happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, and unbelievably, as you do watch it, just think in 1997, this was a 12 rating, and just have a think about that, and think about what you think it would be today, because there's certainly a few bits that I remember that I'm like, this is a 12, is it? PG back in the day. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Interesting. Well, look out for that. Do you remember when you first watched it, or is it just like it was always sort of on and you just captured pieces of it and you know all of it apart from the first 20 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it is definitely a TV movie. I didn't go and watch it at the cinema or anything like that. And just it was kind of a bit of a cult classic, I think, and now it's kind of got more mainstream, but maybe like after the fact, because it did really well at the box office. It did like over 250 million. So actually, like at the time, it was a big movie, but it wasn't on my radar at all. And then I think, I mean, it's so, if you do see like even a minute of it on TV, you're just like, what on earth is this? And it's a bit like Free Jack, but you just get drawn in to the universe that they're making. So I think it was just on. And then, funnily enough, I also remember that this is one of the Blu-ray like early Blu-ray discs that I got, because I thought, okay, well, this is going to be really impressive to see. But also it would skip to the middle scenes to watch it.
Wow, unbelievable. Well, look, no skipping when you rewatch it this time. But what about you, Zoe? Do you remember when you first watched it? Is this such a big favorite film of yours?
Oh, I was probably about 14. So just past the 12, just 12.
just sneaking into the cinema.
It was legal.
Yeah, just so no one complains.
It's so funny, because as a child, I used to be like, oh, I'll watch it if it's PG. And like at the age of 14, I would be like skeptical to watch a 15 because I didn't know if I was allowed to. And I was like, why would I even read? But such a well-behaved child.
Do you remember the first 18 that you ever saw?
Oh, it's a good question. I actually can't. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Might have been something.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you remember yours, Andy?
It's probably, funnily enough, it's probably one of a couple of films, but actually Bachelor Party, I think I watched when I was young and impressionable and really shouldn't have. Obviously prime early Hanks. So you're fine with it. Yeah. And that's just because it's basically The Hangover, but earlier
with clean cut Hanks.
Yeah, well, not that clean cut. It's got some boobs in. They do a great joke where they say they're inviting everyone into a house, and they say like, "Oh, prostitutes to the left, coke on the right," and you just see like the two sort of people just like split into lines going either way.
Left to right.
Yeah, I think I watched that maybe when I was probably like 12 or 13. Didn't like scary movies, so it was bound to be like an 18.
This feels like maybe this is why you don't like horror so much now. You just watched something like this at the age of 12. You weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, I'm totally miscounting when I did last. I think I last saw Fifth Element when I was in my late teens. Probably watched it the second time when I was about 14, and probably saw it when I was pre the age restriction at 12. Would have been about 11, because I think looking now, I vaguely recall American Pie being like the first 18 I saw, and that was 1999. And which would have meant that I was watching that way before I was allowed to. Yeah.
Oh,
that's funny. This really doesn't feel 2 years before American Pie.
Yeah, I know.
No.
This seems a lot earlier.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
really does.
Okay. Well, that's going to be interesting to compare. Maybe the double header's already been resolved.
So favorite movie, but you've not watched this since you were
Yeah.
in your teens. Yeah, it is just me. I mean, it is very striking, and that's the thing. I think if you talk to a lot of people about this movie, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, really like it," because it's the scenes and the sort of the cinematography. And then I think if you actually look at the story, as we will now,
dear, this one dropped significantly. This is gonna drop off the list.
I have my fears for this dropping down, because I have watched it recently. That the middle portion is good. There's a
hold it up.
The story, right? I mean, also, is it just like, realistically, is 80% just Leon, but set in the future? I think there's a case to be made. I mean, Luc Besson wrote this apparently when he was 16. And then he always wanted to make this film, and then I think he's about late 30s, like 37, 38 when it actually comes out. But when you watch it now and you think, oh, okay, this was written by a 16-year-old boy, you're like, no, that's cans. you can tell. So
okay. Well, I'm going to be interested to see what happens here. I feel like it's going to drop like severely down the list.
I know, maybe it'll be my first word that will come back.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, shocking.
So when one of the films, how many films have dropped down the list so far then? Have there been many?
Not enough.
The 13.5, but no, we don't keep track that much. Four Lions is the only one that's come off the list.
Fallen off.
That was bad. No, what the biggest drop? What's the biggest drop? Surely
there was one that dropped significantly, wasn't it? We did look at this at some point, but I can't remember what it is now.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, that didn't that dropped down quite a lot.
I think that was one of the ones.
And In Bruges.
In
Bruges.
It
that
doesn't hold up.
And was quite low to begin with. So I think the reason why it didn't drop more is because there wasn't a lot of room for it to drop. But yeah, those three are the ones that have dropped the most. Maybe it's sometimes when we watch these films that I really like, but you watch it with a more critical eye, you think, that's maybe not as good as I expected. Maybe this will be the reverse. Maybe I'll watch it with a critical eye and I'll be like, that's really well done, and they've done that. I remember just tons of really random stuff in the film, like when they go to the airport or the spaceport. Why is there just rubbish in bin liners in the background? I just they never explain it. They never talk about it. There's just at the airport for some reason that's where they put all of their rubbish as well. So. Yeah.
Well, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right.
Let's. I mean, let's not build it up.
Get it on.
Too much.
Yeah.
And
wow. I feel like I'm going to enjoy this more than you guys.
Oh no! I was just curious to know whether, if you see that, whether or not it'd stand up now, whether that impacts if it stays in the list or not. Is it the relevance at the time, or does that play a part?
I mean, it's a good question. There's a certain amount of rewatchability that you would expect. I'd probably sort of say like the top 30 or 40 you'd want to be able to watch over and over again, which I think is pretty much true. But then there are still there are definitely films in there that's just nostalgia for watching it at a time and a place. So. Yeah, no, we're allowed to. It's one of those ones where you say, "Oh, this is my favorite movie," and everyone's like, "Really?" And you're like, "Yeah, because I watched it on a summer's evening when I was 15, and then I had my first kiss, or something like that."
Yeah,
that's not what happened with this movie. So, but if there's a good story behind a movie, then that's always better. Cool.
Nice.
Let's get it on, and we'll see what happens when we're transported to the future.
So I would say unpredictable and also nostalgic and nostalgic because I used to like it when I was younger. But there's so many things about it that I'd forgot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of this film that is instantly forgettable. I would say.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It is a bizarre film.
Yeah. Presumably they were just like whole. I mean, again, even now, and I've watched it maybe in the last couple of years, and then suddenly I was like, oh, Luke Perry. Like the title.
Yeah.
They've obviously put Luke Perry, and I was like, "Where's Luke Perry in it?" And then obviously he's on the screen almost immediately, and I was like, I'd even forgotten 2 years after watching it that Luke Perry's in the beginning bit. That beginning bit is just so weird and so dull that I think I just clear it from my mind every time.
No,
I didn't mind the first 20. I thought it was all right. After you'd said it was bad, I was like, right, I'm going to really pay attention to see if there's anything I'm going to miss. I thought it sets the scene quite nicely. You don't. Maybe you watched it too many times. Because I can remember, obviously. I've only seen it once or twice. Well, 3 times, who knows?
And it was about 16 minutes as well.
No, yeah.
I did check. I press pause to see.
And that's when Bruce comes in.
And like just the worst aliens of all time. You could how are they going to defend anything? You could basically just stand behind them. And they're just not going to be able to turn around in time. You could probably push them over. And then the one who's like he's not trying to escape. The one who then sticks his arm out so that the door doesn't close to give the person the key, but they don't need the key because you've blocked the door with your hand. So why have you done that? It just makes no sense.
There are some questionable pieces at the start, I must admit. You're kind of like, what is going on here? But I think that's why, if you've not seen it before or you can't remember films, the first 15 minutes is actually handy because you're like, what is going on here? Like, like you said, it's confusing. It's like these giant like dustbins get off of this giant spaceship, and you're like, what is happening? What's going on? And then obviously it just then cuts to Bruce Willis. So
it's an extended bit from like Life of Brian. It's almost as random as the spaceship in Life of Brian, where you're just like, what? Why are these aliens? Because then you never see those aliens again. Like they literally play no part in the plot.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're all ever present. Omnipresent, always around. Yeah. So a couple of days. So this is one of your favorite films of all time, but you hadn't seen it for 20 years. Well, did you actually like it? Did you think it was good still?
I still liked it, but I think it's gone. Not that I have a top 100, but I'd say it's gone down the list for me. But there are still a lot of things I liked about it, though. But and I think that alien still scares me. But we'll get onto that. The singing alien, the opera singer. But I thought Bruce Willis is so good at it. Like he's real dry sense of humor and like quite deadpan at some of it. I really liked when they're saying, "Oh, what a creation! She's perfect," and then it almost looks like she's just going through an exorcism when she like wakes up, or like when she she comes to life, and obviously she's like moving around the unit, whatever you would call it, and then there's that creepy guy that goes over to her and he's like, oh, is this he starts saying like, oh, we'll take photos for the archives, which is creepy anyway, and then when he says, is this glass is unbreakable, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, and he goes right up to her and then she just like punches her and breaks the glass. I was like, come on, girl. And then she just bursts out there. You just get really excited. I remember just thinking back then, years ago, that I was like, I've never seen anyone with orange hair. And even just sort of things like Bruce Willis wearing the orange vest matches her hair. And then they meet. And Kristen was hilarious in it.
Yeah, he's
again though, like a 12 though. So you see a naked woman.
Yeah.
It can't still be a 12 now though, is it?
Yeah, I think
it's PG now.
I don't know.
Apparently.
That's it. As long as you've got parents with you, it's fine just to see a naked woman.
It's true. Hey, it's just reality.
And that colonel, the creepy colonel, doesn't he like die 3 times in the film, because he gets frozen. I always thought that he froze to death in the freezer in Bruce Willis's apartment, but then he turns up later. Did they just forget about that? Did they just like, oh, okay, no, actually just keep bringing him back?
That was a weird scene, wasn't it? Where they just like drive him in there, and then he does look like he's dead. But just as he opens it and he has his little Bruce Willis quip, and then he closes it again, he does actually move a little bit, and I was like, oh, is that a bad continuity error where he's supposed to be dead, but like I think his eye blinks or he breathes or something? So maybe that was the tiny little thing just to say that he's still alive. Although he does close the doors. How he gets out of there.
And that's the thing, when they turn up to the apartment, to the bit where they light the last stone on fire, that stretch of the movie is amazing. I think that is like when like Lulu then turns up, and then they go on to the spaceship, and then they're on the other side. Like that entire part of that the film is so much fun. It's so well shot. Like the Chris Tucker's obviously great in it. I think Ian Holm's actually really good in it. He brings like just like sort of actual sort of drama to it. I think it's amazing. Before and after that, it feels like they made that bit of the film and they were like, this is brilliant. And they were like, yeah, okay, but this is 40 minutes long. This isn't a film. And they were like, oh, okay. So we'll add some other stuff, shall we?
Yeah.
We'll just do like, we'll explain everything for the first half an hour. Literally, like Gary Oldman's in it right at the start. And then they just forget about him for 45 minutes. Yeah. And then they're like, oh yeah, he's the baddie, right? So let's bring him back in. And it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. And then and then he dies off, and you're like, what? Like, I don't remember him dying this early in the film. I mean, obviously it's a reasonable part of the film, but he's only, like you said, it's only his second scene. I was like, what has happened? I swear I remember him being in it more, because I remember that strange, he had that haircut and he had that bit of plastic that he has to wear on his face, which looked really uncomfortable. But it is bizarre. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I think that's why it was unpredictable, but also maybe why I thought that I remembered it more than I did. But I think it was because things that I didn't really connect with, if you like, or didn't really pay much interest in. I think you do just kind of watch them, don't really digest what's going on, and then you're back to like Lulu and Cornelius. So sorry,
I think it's one of those where because the visuals and like the action is so good, I think that you remember that, and people say, oh, you remember, The Fifth Element, and you're like, yeah, I remember that. That's really good. And all you're doing is remembering the good 40 minutes of a 2-hour film. No one's going to be like, oh, you mean the film with Luke Perry about the aliens going into an Egyptian temple? No one's saying that. So
with the 10-minute opera singing scene, and you're like, why are we listening to the entire song? This is crazy.
But did you not get the fact, like, because her movements and Lily's movements are then in like choreographed, and they're together, and like Lily's actually fighting in tune with the opera singer and stuff.
There's a large bit of the song before Lulu even comes back into the film, and I was like, has it sort of paused? I don't know what's happened here. Why are we just sitting here listening to an entire song? It was a bit surreal. But I
realized it was the basis for me wanting things that were like ridiculous. When I was younger, I was like, I really want a flying car, and obviously was it?
Yeah,
was an easy wish.
Has that changed?
Also, my one. And then also just the fact that they get hula necklaces off the plane. Like, there was no mention of them being in Hawaii per se, but I just automatically at that age like related those necklaces to Hawaii, and then that for years it was the one place I wanted to visit more than ever, just because of the film, thinking that they were in Hawaii for the ridiculous.
Brilliant. Just on a spaceship, just off the coast of Hawaii.
Obviously, random memory, not accurate either.
No,
it's just there's just so there's so many random things. Like his mate on the phone that he talks to. What's that all about? That never plays out at all. Like, he's talking to him a couple of times, and it's the same with the mum. You're just like,
oh, the
why have you got this in what is this serving in the film? It's just so bizarre. It's so it's just so random.
When he talks to his cat, I think he's a bit too loving. Like it's very sense of endearment through the roof for a cat.
Yeah, it did feel a lot like, you know, the classic, as you were saying, Zoe, the classic Bruce Willis character. It did really feel like that, you know. He's sort of cheeky, you know, like the Die Hard. I didn't want to say, it's like Die Hard, or, you know, in space, but it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he plays the character so well, and it's the looks that he gives, you know, when he just before he's about to kill someone, or he's about to like throw down a one-liner, and he's great in this, isn't he? I think this is it's just classic Bruce Willis, this sort of era. Is this, would you say this is mid era, Andy? Would you say this is this has got to be mid Bruce, right?
This is, I mean, as we kind of said, it's very difficult to pin him down when his peak was, because obviously Armageddon, he's kind of playing Bruce Willis in Armageddon, like he's playing the character that he becomes, and it's just after 12 Monkeys, which is like his you know, serious, is this going to get me an Oscar? But I think that's the thing. Like anytime that he's on the screen, it's good. Anytime, obviously, Chris Tucker is on the screen, it's good. I literally think anytime that Ian Holmes actually on the screen, he's really good in it as well. And then obviously in that 40-minute stint in the hotel, they're all on the screen together. So then it's like it's really, really good. But the rest of the time when they're not, you're just like, what is going on? Like, why they get like even Gary Oldman. God love him. He sort of he brings something to the role, but also you're just like, why is he like the bit where he's trying to explain why he's working with the ultimate evil and stuff? It just doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like business like rather than being a pure villain, it was almost like he was acting like a businessman as well.
Yeah. That didn't make any sense, did it? I forgot about that. I thought he was going to turn into like an alien or something, because ultimately he's going to die as well. So even though he's doing it for sort of money and he's trying to describe the chaos, he's going to die. Yeah, that made no sense. And how do you get in contact with the planet? Like, what happens? Do they just book an appointment? Like,
give you a business card as you're flying past in your spaceship? Yeah. And I never got what the like the brown ooze coming down his forehead when he's talking to him on the phone. I've never understood what that actually means. Like, what? Just I've just never understood that.
Because you're like, if you can kill me from a distance, why are you hurtling at me slightly slowly to destroy the entire planet? Why don't you just do this from, you know, the comfort of space?
Yeah.
I must say, anything new that you noticed, I just put most of the film. It's just as you've just said, there's just so many things. When you watch it with a critical eye, you're like, did that just happen? Like rewind, like what was that? What's that in the background? And there's so many strange things that goes on. But I think that, like, I'm a big fan of Hudson Hawk, which I think, you know, everyone, a lot of people dislike. And that's like also the same sort of thing where nothing really happens and everything happens. It's just a silly film Bruce Willis is just perfect in those films because he just pulls it together and hangs it together. And I think that's sort of the same here. Like, obviously, you have like Chris Tucker's role, which is just hilarious, but it always then just comes back. Bruce just pulls it all back together. So I know that we've got like, who else do we think would play it? So I think that's going to be a challenge. But I think I can't really picture anyone else really doing this as well as he did.
Yeah, well, because he's got that everyman, hasn't he? And like that, but like that, and that was like back in the day, that was what. Like the main character in films and action films a lot of the time kind of were. It was like an everyman kind of character, which I do think that the superheroes, like that is, you know, in all of the superheroes and Marvel stuff now, like basically, I think even in like the last Die Hard, all of a sudden he's like some sort of super spy, and he's like almost acting as though he can do like. You know, he's got some missiles or something, isn't he? And it just goes too much. And that was why he was always good. Like, and that's why Die Hard is good, because he's just like an ordinary guy. Like, he's a cop, but he's just sort of getting himself into these situations. And he does do that Yeah, I think I don't think there's anyone else who's ever done that as good as him. And now, like,
No.
that's not almost a character that,
No.
that you kind of even have. So
I
I
even
think that's,
So I was just going to say, I even loved the bit where he goes to kiss her and then she puts the gun to his head and his face just doesn't move. Like, so he does a really good job of just keeping really straight on that bit.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also like, he's like, yeah, should have known.
Yep.
yeah.
Got it.
Shouldn't have tried to kiss her. It's very, very Dead Poets, kissing unconscious people and then getting karma straight away. I think, there's, that's a teaching moment for anyone who's watching these. So
yeah. Try not to do these things.
Yeah, that still stands.
Was there anything that you thought that dates the film? I mean, obviously it's set in the future, and I thought like you mentioned at the start, Andy, it's 1997, and like the graphics and like the technology, like when they're reconstructing Lilu, like I'm like, wow, I had to check what year it was again. I was like, this is incredible for 1997.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, isn't it, where it's not kind of all level, because you also have Terminator 2, where obviously the graphics are just amazing, and then you have other films at the time where the graphics are just awful, and so it's bizarre that actually there are quite a lot of films around then that, like, the graphics are amazing.
Would have been terrible.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like you get, you're only 2 years away from The Matrix, right, in 97.
So how did you guys describe it? Zoe, how did you describe it to the non-aliens that are in this film? So the other aliens.
So this is, it was a bit of a stab in the dark with this one, but evil is coming.
Yeah.
A cab driver, a mysterious woman, and 4 stones are Earth's only hope. Love is the 5th element.
Nice. Strong DVD cover. I think that'd be a good one.
Look at you, playing to Andy's like heartstrings. He loves romance. Yeah.
Is this romance? I'm not sure.
There's definitely romance in here. Like, well, they try to shoehorn it in. I don't know if there is romance.
I'm not sure. Just so you know, I'm not sure I would recommend this as a way to get into a relationship.
Yeah. It's an extreme version.
Well, Uber drivers, cab drivers, they save us all sometimes, but just maybe not so. Not so.
There you go. Oh dear. What about you, Eddie? What did you have?
I just my question to the aliens: do you recognize anyone? If so, maybe ask them about the plot, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is one.
Yeah. Why is Gary so slow and he got caught in the pyramid? Like,
why do you entrust the only weapon that can defeat evil to the worst aliens, who are just armadillos who move really, really slowly?
It is weird as well, isn't it? Because there's no reason that they could be slow. They could be fast, and he doesn't have to get caught in there. He could just give the key. So, like, that's completely unnecessary. That scene.
Well, and the thing is, are the aliens inside the suits? Are the suits the aliens? And like, there's a lot of questions about them. But funnily enough, you don't need to ask the questions, because then they don't actually turn up at all in the rest of the film.
They'll get obliterated. Like, oh, then they're dead. Oh,
okay, and I've got a question now. What happened to Luke Perry? Do you remember?
He gets left at the pyramid.
but no, he shoots the alien, and then all of, like, you don't know what happens to him. Nothing happens to him. They don't actually do anything with that as a story.
He just goes off and he lives his life, and he tells everyone about it, and he gets like some kind of new religion is created that he starts. I don't know. What religion has spaceships in it?
Anything to avoid that singing alien. If it could get killed off.
It was a weird,
still spooking you out now.
Well, honestly, I was like, I can't skip this bit, but I would ideally like to.
Still
Did you just
disturbing.
put subtitles on?
No,
Yeah, put it on mute.
And then getting
It's
the
just like the
stones
bad-
out of her as well. Like
Yeah.
that bit just seems unwarrantedly
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit strange. But I guess, you know, if it is saving the planet, you do have to go to extremes to hide them. I don't want to know how she got them. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah. I thought there was one thing that's quite funny because, you know, always know when you have futuristic films, there's always something they sort of, as you get, you know, as an old futuristic film, I should say, there's something they've always missed. And so I think in this film, actually, they do quite a lot of good stuff. Like you see most of the things feel futuristic. Obviously, they've got the flying cars, but they've still got like landline phones where obviously it is detachable, but you still have to hold it to your ear. I'm like, well, that was...
No one's going to come up with a better design for a phone. This is definitely as good as it's going to get.
It is funny, but I thought as a whole, like a lot of the stuff they came up with, which was really interesting. You've got also like the train that sort of goes down the building as well, which that felt a bit like Minority Report. Like, and obviously the flying car was really good. So
but why do you need a train that goes down the side of a building if you've got flying cars?
Just because not everyone can afford a flying car, and then there's still problems in the world, unfortunately. You know,
there's still poverty. I thought it was quite quaint thinking that 200 billion people could fit on the Earth. I think maybe we realised that number would be a little bit unattainable. So, but I mean, with the costumes and everything, I looked it up because this got nominated for an Oscar for best sound. Weirdly, I'm not really sure why. But for best costume, Titanic won, and I was just a bit like,
oh my God,
I'm not sure. Like that, you've maybe missed one there. Like, they should have got. Yeah, they should have got. Which I'm almost surprised because the Academy would have loved to have Jean-Paul Gaultier at the awards because obviously it would bring in a different crowd. So they definitely should have been nominated and won for the costumes because
they weren't even nominated.
No,
that's crazy.
Which kind of, if they weren't nominated for anything, you'd be like, oh, okay, like it was cheesy. Basically, I mean, it won in the best director at Cannes, but it got like nominated for Razzies and for like worst film of the year, and so like just as many people hated this film and thought it was rubbish as liked it, but they did get one Oscar nomination. So obviously, like enough people actually thought that it was good, and then but not for the costumes. You're like, what? Why?
And the costumes are so good.
Yeah,
like it's even now you look at it and go, these are so ingenious. A very clever person has pulled this together, and it adds to the film, right? Like you said, so you've got the linking colors, you've got like just random different things. You're like, oh, okay, just it draws your eye continuously throughout the film. And I think it's an integral, like that is one of I think if you remove that, this film is nowhere near as good. Like if you just had normal clothes, it's not the same. Did you guys have any questions the film asks or answers?
So, I mean, for me, how much of a film needs to be good for it to be a good film?
Oh, because you took in the 40 minutes or 2 hours.
I love that. I love that 40 minutes. I stand by that 40 minutes is almost as much as it's, I mean, it's cheesy and it's, a bit rubbish, but it's fun and it looks good. Still brilliant. But ratio wise, I would be a little bit disappointed with it. But luckily it's at the end. So that's what you remember when you come out. So because it's still, next time I watch this, I'm going to be like, oh, it's Luke Perry in this. I can tell you that now.
So is that the line then? That a third of the film needs to be good for it to still be classified as a good film.
Clearly, that's the new Fifth Element rule. That as long as a third of a film is good, then you can forgive the other 2/3. As long as it's the last third as well. If it's the first third and then the next 2/3 are rubbish, you're probably not getting out you're going to
struggle.
Yeah.
Random. What about you, Zay?
That makes sense. For me, it was just more of a simple question of like, how does this bit relate to this bit? And like that makes sense. And it also answered the question of that makes sense why I forgot that bit. So it's sort of similar. Like there are bits of it that don't necessarily feel like they tie in with the rest of the film, and I think probably that's actually helped me answer why I initially thought at the start of this call now of like whether or not I did like it as much as I used to. But I think that makes sense. And maybe it is that it's like 40 minutes of really great, and great viewing, and then
just forget
and then less so. Yeah, I don't know. We've discussed this a few times, isn't it? I do think that films and our our view of films has changed. Like I do think like we could have watched this back in the day and been like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good film. And I think like now, because of everything with mobile phones and so attention is just so much shorter, I do think like now would be
How old are you with these mobile phones and the internet? I don't...
These landlines.
Exactly.
Well,
we truly are living in the future without these landlines. You need to.
Well, 24-hour access to the internet. Then I do think that's made. Could you just like second screening? Basically, second screening I think has changed our the way we view and ingest films now, and therefore we've said about this before. And so then the content has to change because you have to be ready for that audience now, and you can't just do like 40 minutes at the end because everyone in the cinema will be on their phones for an hour and a half waiting for that 14 minutes.
But don't you think this is almost this is more modern then, because you could be on your phone for like the first 2/3 and then the explosions start and you look up and you're like, oh, look at what they dressed in, and then you would watch the last 40 minutes and you'd be like, oh, that was an amazing film, even though you're on your phone so much at the beginning.
So is this going to be the future of cinemas? We're going to have different sections. You'll have like the sections at the back where people can have their phones on, and then like the section at the front for the purists that just watch it all.
When we discussed Airplane and watched that in 2 parts, didn't we? So it's
that is true. But this would probably be in a bad film to watch in 2 parts. You'd be like, I don't think I can make it to the second part. Like, what's happened?
I think if you described it, and then someone only watched the first half, they would just be like, I just don't understand at all how you're it's high octane and it looks really good. It's really impressive. If you watch the first bit, you're like, those aliens look awful. What are you talking about? That ship just looks completely bizarre. Why are there kids there?
It's like a giant earwig.
Why is there just one pyramid in the middle of the desert? Why would you do that?
It's
like,
just,
no, wait until the end. Wait, it gets better, honestly. Bruce Willis isn't even in this film. You just watch the first half.
What's happened? What about then deep faking the main roles? I've got some good ones for this, I think. What did you have for this,
Deep faking the main roles. Is this if I could get somebody else to take the lead actor's role?
This is AI replacing anyone in the film with someone else.
Okay.
This started off with, we thought, would every film be better if it was deep faked but with Keanu Reeves? And that's where it starts from. So we should also ask that question. But
could Keanu Reeves be the Bruce Willis character?
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe even the Fifth Element. He's got a range.
Well, mine's controversial, but it's probably not surprising because I think I've mentioned before that I've got a big admiration for Paul Rudd. He does Ant-Man.
Yeah. We know who he is. Yeah.
I know, but he just
he's semi-famous. I've heard of him before. Yeah.
Comedic superhero. There you go.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Him or I don't know what reason, but James McAvoy. I feel like he could be good.
Interesting. Yeah.
Instead of Chris Tucker. Yeah.
I could actually see him doing that role.
I don't know who could play Chris Tucker's role.
I think Keanu would give it a go. Bill and Ted Keanu. I think it.
Nicolas Cage, surely he has to be. He would love that role.
I don't know who could play Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
interesting.
I'd like to see it with actually Humphrey Bogart. I think Humphrey Bogart instead of Bruce Willis would be a good one.
What?
That would
Wow.
make it a little bit more noir. And then I wondered, could you switch this Gary Oldman character with the one from Leon, and would that make both films better?
Yeah. No.
Actually, that would.
He needs to be the
that
same
would-
character in both. Yeah.
No, I think I want to see his character from Leon in this film because I
Yeah.
think that would just spice
That
things
would
up
be
a little
good.
bit more, and then
Yeah.
it would just lighten up Leon. I think to have the character from this one in Leon, I just think it would make it a little
Yeah,
bit
true.
lighter. So,
Yeah, maybe.
who did you have then? Who did you have then, Kev? Who were you switching out?
Well, I think I've got some pretty good ones. So I'm switching out the two main characters. So Bruce Willis and Lilu.
Switching them around. Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Yeah. Bruce Willis is Fifth Element. And yeah. Which I think that could have worked, to be honest. So now I've got for Lilu, I've got Zendaya.
Oh, good.
I think she could be good in this. And then, yeah, that Everyman, I was trying to think, and you're right, it's very difficult now, but I think I've got the last Everyman left, kind of. I've gone with everyone's favourite, Ryan Gosling.
Oh, I thought you might. I just had a the feeling then that
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think then Emma Stone? Surely you would reunite both of them, and you'd have Gosling and Stone again.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the holy trinity of Stone and Gosling would be culminating with a remake of The Fifth Element.
Although, again, I think I'd probably switch them around. I think I'd have Gosling as the Fifth Element, and I'd have Stone as the Bruce Willis character.
Yeah,
I think that would work better.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling together in that Fall Guy. They were good.
Yeah. And they're almost like the roles are kind of reversed a bit then as well.
Yeah.
He's an everyman. There you go. He's the modern Bruce Willis.
I think I'm not sure that he's so much of an everyman. He's quite good looking for an everyman. Because Bruce Willis isn't like good looking.
Bruce Willis not good looking? Is this a bombshell you're about to drop here?
I don't think in like a traditional leading man type way. I think he's.
Wow.
I can't even describe the look that I'm getting from Zoe right now in the shop for the listeners. It's somewhere beyond.
And I'm not far behind. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that Bruce Willis is like a traditionally good-looking person. Am I completely out of order for that?
Yeah, you are. He's a traditional everyman good-looking person.
Yeah.
You compare him to Ryan Gosling. Do you think that they're the same type and level of attractiveness?
I think in modern everyday man, modern world now, I would say they're the same. I reckon if Bruce Willis was born,
I think
at the
everyone's
same time
better
as Gosling,
looking now than they were in the 90s.
Yeah, well, we know more. There's more help and everything. You know,
we know more.
No, we know more about nutrition and things like that, and about looking after yourself and that. So I think, like, you know, he wouldn't have been smoking and anything like that. He'd be getting up at 6 a.m. doing spin classes.
Is this another plug for Athletic Queens? Is this like the longest advert for Athletic Queens ever?
And if they want to send us some free samples, I'm happy to keep plugging it. I felt so energized since I've been taking my Athletic Greens.
Wow. Okay.
Well, what characters then do we think? Zoe, what characters do you think you were most like, or you'd most like to be like?
Oh, this is a good question. I don't think I'm particularly related to any of them particularly, but maybe Lilu in the way that she was like, "Don't shoot," when we went to go like,
yeah. You've always got a gun on you, haven't you? Yeah, just in case.
And, I'd say the fact that he was saying like random phrases like that, bada boom, and then she was trying to laugh, but she was like warming to him. And I actually just thought that he was really nice in the way that he was quite sensitive as like just to even though they couldn't speak the same language, he was very like emotionally intelligent to know like how she might have been feeling in that moment. So maybe I'd like to think that I can try and be emotionally intelligent like Bruce. So
it sounded like you're going to be more Bruce than Lulu, I think.
You fall in love with someone within 20 seconds. They fall out of the sky.
Classic.
Get me
90s.
a flying car. Get me a flying car. Get my Uber license. That'll be fine.
It's game on.
How about you, Kev?
Yeah, I was trying to think about if there's anyone sort of random in this film. I couldn't really think of it, so I think you have to go with Bruce, don't you? You know,
Lee Evans.
I'm just
I thought of you
man.
as the Lee Evans character.
Oh, that Lee Evans. Why is he even in it? Like, his character's so pointless. It's like someone saw his stand-up show and thought, oh, yeah, he's really funny, and then put him in and gave him no lines. And you're like, oh, okay, just seems a bit strange.
Tool.
And it just doesn't work because he's the head of security, but he's really nervous, and they give him no lines to sort of develop the character of why he's nervous or like, you know, why it's funny. You're just like, oh, he's head of security and he's rubbish. It just doesn't work at all.
I wonder if they put him in the trailer, like as part of a way of trying to.
I think they've replaced him with Luke Perry. No.
They've digitally altered him. I'm not sure he was ever a big enough draw to get people in. But
what about you then, Andy? Who did you have? Lulu?
Oh, well, I mean, no, Chris Tucker's character feels very much the same as the pod, right? We're you can't see us, obviously, listeners, but we're basically wearing outfits very similar to his. And then we put as much effort into everything. I'm just going to start going to get people to leave me alone. So it's fine.
Those are like me and Zoe would be like the entourage who was always following you around, trying to inflate your ego.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if after a pod you could say that it was just really great, that would be good.
It was green. It was so green.
I mean, takes us on to the quotes, right? I mean, it's 7 p.m. It's time for the news. Best show I ever did. That's basically the line that I use after the pod every time. So
nice.
Yeah.
Anything you had to say?
Not necessarily. I'd say
not the whole film.
No,
not the whole 40 minutes.
No. I think I'm stumped on this one. I think I was kind of just left like, content with the.
It was all a favourite line to you.
There's not that much in the script.
Oh, I did.
No, there are really.
I did like him. I always like the somewhat comedy lines. When police stop him for like hovering his cab, and he was like, "Excuse me, is there a problem besides the fact that I'm driving a cab in the 23rd century and you're pulling me over for hovering?" So he's just like, it's just serious. And then and when Lulu crashes through his roof, and he's like, "So you're going to pay for that or what? Because you know this is a rental." And that's like,
he gets all the best lines, doesn't he, Ruth? What about you, Andy? Do you have any good ones?
And not necessarily good ones. Some strange ones with his films. When they are remaking Lulu, they say, "Oh, now the cells are being bombarded with slightly greasy solar atoms."
Yeah,
and I was just like,
weird.
"What? Slightly greasy solar atoms? That's a bit strange." When he's describing her on the phone to his friend that we never see. And he says, 5'9", blue eyes, long legs, great skin. And I was, I feel like if anyone ever describes someone as great skin, it's because they want to cut it off and wear it. It's giving very serial killer vibes, I think, to say that someone has great skin.
He looks. I think you've answered both questions with you together, back to back. It's slightly greasy, and he was like, "It's perfect. I really like this new look skin."
This skin is great because it's got greasy solar atoms. I don't know. And then his mum says on the phone, "I should never have pushed you out," which just is just like such a wrong thing for someone to say. But
The mum's a good character. I did like the little like it's random and not really needed, but I did like the little comic relief every now and then he's always having to take the call, and because phones are still semi-connected, he can't like walk around, so he's like, oh, I'm in this room now talking to my mum where I probably should be like trying to make sure Lilu's not dying.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Nice.
Any others for you?
I just had like when he shoots the main guy in the control room, and he's like, anyone else want to negotiate? It's like the classic Bruce Willis line. But yeah. Did you get any lines to describe the pod? I had one that was tenuously worked, but there aren't many, are there?
Just that best show I ever did. I think. You know, clearly what we described the pod.
I had Bruce Willis. There's a point where he says, "Everything I do is for the future," and I thought, I don't know.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's not a bad recommendation of our pod.
Could be one.
So reviews then, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, again, strangely, not that many 3-star reviews. I think this is definitely a 5 or 1-star review. They described it, the plot of the film. They said this is a film where Bruce Willis plays a taxi driver in the future. He picks up passengers in his flying taxi cab. You're like, yeah, but that's not really the plot of the movie, is it? But then they go on.
Kind of the side part.
This isn't an all-action science fiction film. It's quite talky in parts, with a lot of character development in it. I'm not sure I would say a lot of character development. I wouldn't say, you know what, the problem with this film is there's too much character development in it.
No.
Bruce Evans. What was his character, like you said? Oh, Lee Evans. Sorry.
Yeah. I think there's more characters in this that have zero character development. Lilu kind of being one of them that actually have it. But then they go on to say this film was made in 1996 and then came out in the cinema in 1997. So long before the current generation of cinema fans today. Most of today's cinema fans seem to be under 25.
What?
Yeah,
this person needs some help. I don't know what's going on.
Not sure. Just lamenting the fact that there's young people in the cinema. Yeah, and the fact that that's something new. Apparently, not that young people always go to the cinema, but
exactly. It's the one that you can do. And who's like standing up in the middle of the cinema and counting the people that they think are under 25?
They're just recognizing it. Someone there said there's too many characters and zany ones. It seems to go on forever, played for laughs. I think that's fairly accurate. I don't think that's much. Yeah. And then someone wrote a very long review complaining about the sound on this particular version. And they said, it really takes me out of the film and led to less enjoyment. Perhaps buy the earlier Blu-ray version. And then in brackets, although I've not watched that. So I'm not really sure why they are suggesting.
I've got to say, this is the perfect review for this film. Some of it makes sense and the rest of it is irrelevant.
Maybe watch something else, but I've not seen it.
That person really rates their own review. They're like, let me just compare both sides of the argument and just balance it out.
Yeah. They're trying to go 3 stars to their own review as well. So it's starting to get meta.
Just a fan that we need. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll know if they leave a review of the pod. Okay, so then double features. What did you go for? I feel like, again, because it's only 40 minutes of this film, really, I feel like this is a good nominee for having a double feature, because I think you're not really going to have felt all of it. You just be like, well, that was a short film, because you've actually fallen asleep apart from the 40 minutes in the middle.
What did you have, Zoe?
Complimentary film for this. I did struggle with this one, to be honest. Because the fact that it doesn't necessarily need to be a similar film, does it?
No, it could be anything. No. Let's say we'll be helpfully critical of your choice.
Maybe something like The Bourne Identity, because like now she's a fifth element. Like, does something then happen to her after? Like, and if so, like,
bit of action.
It's a good idea. Yeah, he doesn't really know where he's from. She doesn't really know where she's from. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, and it has lots of action in.
That's
and probably lots of Dolbys, if I remember correctly. So
makes a bit more sense, I think. So
yeah, nice. What about you, Andy?
I mean, I thought just go for an afternoon of zany sci-fi fun and watch Flash Gordon as well. Just go the whole hog. Just have watch Flash Gordon and then watch this and just be like, yeah. That was an afternoon well spent.
I would love to change the deep fakes on those two roles. Have Bruce Willis in Flash Gordon and Brian Blessed in this. That would be good. I had The Mummy because I thought same sort of thing, but the ancient version of it. So like almost like at the start when the aliens first come, what did they do? What happens? And it's like that's The Mummy, and then they've left and they leave Luke Perry, and then we get onto the sequel, which is The Fifth Element.
Nice.
I thought that could be good.
This is a sequel to The Mummy in your mind. Then.
I guess it is really. Yeah. There's a lot of irrelevant stuff that happens in that as well. And you've got everyone's other favorite everyman, Brendan Fraser. So,
yeah.
What about the Algo then? I'm pretty confident on this one.
Okay. Well, yeah. What have you gone for then?
So I went for,
if you like,
Guardians of the Galaxy and your favorite film, Serenity.
Yeah, I mean, categorically not my favorite film because we've already done it and we're only at 35 on the list of my favorite films. But okay, that's interesting. Yeah. The Algo agrees with you on both of those films. Yeah.
Oh, damn it. It's a draw. What an annoyance. But then also a good summation of this film. Very relevant.
Also went for Titan AE, Valerian, Terminator. Transformers and Star Trek. Transformers I actually thought was a good one because that's pretty silly and like stupid, but like there are.
But I don't think that's
good bits
deliberately trying to be stupid. I just think they're bad movies.
Well, I don't think this is deliberately trying to be a bad movie. I think that they are trying here. But I think
I did have Star Trek in there as well, though. Star Trek effect.
I think the Algo actually loses it for Terminator because again, if you said I really like the Terminator and someone said, "Oh, you know what? You should watch The Fifth Element." I don't think those two films are similar. So
less is more.
We'll give that to you because there's just no way that the Terminator and this film are alike. So
no. So all right, it's number 35 on the list. I think it's going to go down. So what is happening?
Yeah, it's going to drop. It's going to drop, and I feel like it needs to drop around to the other films that don't make any sense, around the Empire Records type area, which is low 70s. But funnily enough, despite everything, I think I'd still rather. But I think I'd still rather watch this than Empire Strikes Back. So I'm gonna put this in at number 72. Still a very entertaining 40 minutes, but the rest of the film just doesn't make any sort of sense. Is quite dull and just is not good. So again, really good 40 minutes. But
it's funny you should say that. My friend in the UK, John, I'll give him a little call out. He has just sent me some abuse about us hating Empire Strikes Back so much. He's gonna love it that
Fifth Element stays above it because you'd still much rather watch Fifth Element than Empire Strikes Back. Let's face it,
I think he will have palpitations and he'll be on a flight to Australia to talk to you about this.
You know, the comment section. The comment section's open. So
that's true. We'll notice his comments. That's a big drop, though. You really, really did only like that 40 minutes, didn't you?
Yeah. Again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens then, like, when the film drops in, Andy? Does it do others move up?
We stop the podcast. We stop, leave, go home, and think about what we're doing with our lives.
I think about all that time and effort that I spent making the list in the first time, and it wasn't just a random. Oh, that's probably around the 30s. They all sort of shuffle up, apart from the ones that are at the 10s, because they are there for a reason, because I like the neatness. Everything else then shuffles up one.
It's all you can
see it live on the website if actually the website worked, but it doesn't. So you just imagine it in your head, and it'll be just as good. All the other films shuffling up. We go back and edit with AI all of the other podcasts and correct the number. Can you imagine?
Everything changes.
Dropping it down to the 70s is actually a real pain, because I have to go through and change all of the films in between. So I almost did just leave it. I'm just going to leave it there, because I just can't be bothered to change all the others.
Just easier.
All the others.
Yeah.
So what about you then, Kev?
Well,
you liked almost you liked the bits that I didn't like, and then.
It's almost the inverse. I did it 24. So in 24? The good section. Oof. Yeah. So the ultimate trilogy of films, Philadelphia, followed by Fifth Element, followed by The Apartment. So it's a lot of highs and lows in there.
That would be a messed up weekend watching all of those. Wow. So that's right. So you enjoyed this more than Fellowship of the Rings, more than I
think
more than all of the Star Wars that we've watched so far.
It's not that I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, but I think we did discover this, didn't we? I'm not sure I'm a huge, although this is also in space. I'm not sure.
You just realised what you're just about to say.
Yeah.
So you're not a huge sci-fi fan, is what you've discovered, which is why you don't like Star Wars.
No,
and yet you've just put the most sci-fi movie definitely that's on the list.
I think it's maybe the spaceship pieces that this is it set in the future, and it's sci-fi, but there's not much like spaceship stuff. Whereas I think in Star Wars there's a lot of spaceship stuff, and I think maybe that's what I don't like. Okay. I don't know. Tune in next week to see if we find out more. And
definitely the new tagline for the Star Wars spaceship stuff.
Yeah. There's so much spaceship stuff in those movies. I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know. Maybe I should put it back down. I thought it was quite good. I enjoyed it. I thought the first 20 minutes, it sets it up quite nicely. The last 40 minutes is good. The costumes are great. Bruce Willis is funny. There's some dull bits, but what isn't dull these days? It's hard to get a 2-hour good movie. As we've seen.
Wow, it's no Hudson Hawk for sure, but
no, obviously season 2, get ready.
Season 2 will be quite high up. Zoe, obviously say that it's dropped down a bit from being like one of your all-time favorites, but hopefully we haven't ruined it for you too much watching it again.
20 years later.
Funny you should mention about sci-fi as well. I would struggle with any other kind of sci-fi film, really. Star Wars, Star Trek have always kind of got restless, or definitely didn't finish the second half of those ones. But having said that
could have been the good half. If this film's anything to go by, maybe the second half would have been good.
This is it. And then I'm heading out later, and I'll have to put my hair in heatless rollers, and I'll look like a poor man's Princess Leia anyway. So this is what,
Got to just copy the styles. Well, as long as don't go out just with bandages around you. That probably will go down a little bit less.
Yeah.
In
Bondi.
It's very Bondi. I'm sure you find people down there with just bandages wrapped around them. So it's fine.
Oh yeah. There's worse that you see. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, no, I still did enjoy it, but I'm there saying it's dropped down in my list, but I don't have a top 100.
Well, not yet.
Films.
Season
Not yet.
3. Get yourself
Still
ready.
collection. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll move on. We keep going. Next week, we obviously got the classic film that's summed up by the quote "Vaya con Diaz." I'm sure everyone will recognize that. Kev's face says that he does not. But that'll be for next week. Thanks to Tom Miller for the theme song. And we're gonna go out now and do a bit of clothes shopping and find some of those outfits to wear.